Hey, Fearless followers, Pastor Aaron here with your Fearless Word for the day. I hope you've been following along in our study guide for this series. We're talking about the 10 Commandments, and you can find that study guide on any of our church's websites, and it gives you just a quick little daily scripture and some thoughts to consider as we wrap our head and heart around the biblical principles that God has given us to live healthy lives. Today's word of the day comes at us out of Matthew chapter 5, one of Jesus' teachings in verses 27. He says this, "You have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who even looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in their hearts." Wow, this is a just powder keg kind of statement from Jesus. It takes the main thing from being about the actions to being about the heart, right? In the Old Testament, God gave us the 10 Commandments and all the different guidelines in the Torah. He gave us those rules to protect relationship. But Jesus is saying it's not just about what you do, it's about your heart attitude, right? It's not just about, if you go out and commit physical adultery with someone, it's about whether you choose to intentionally covet that person, right? The original kind of language here isn't like, if you accidentally look at somebody out of the corner of your eye, then you're an adulterer. That's not what this is about. The original hearers would have heard it with some different language tenses that would have brought it home a little more like, hey, if you're doing this on purpose. So think about it this way. But I say to you that anyone who gazes intently at a woman in order to covet her, if she is married, has already committed adultery with her, right? Those are kind of the understandings they would have heard from this that we kind of get lost in our language. So, you know what? This is not just something for men, right? Men and women both struggle with wanting someone that they are not in a covenant relationship with. And this isn't just for people who are married, right? If you're not in a covenant relationship with another human, you're in a covenant relationship with God, and He's called you to purity. And so I think the heart of this teaching is don't long for fulfillment outside of the relationships that God has given you that are meant to fulfill you, right? Don't train your heart for longing after someone that is not yours to be in relationship with. If you're married in a covenant marriage relationship, we're meant to train our hearts and our eyes and our minds to be fulfilled by that person, right? And if you're in a covenant relationship with God and He has not yet brought you into a committed relationship with another human, you're meant to train your heart and your mind around faithfulness to God and let Him meet your needs. And so whenever we're encountered with lust, we have a choice to make. It's not just that, if you have a passive glance at the eye and like, oh man, that person's really attractive, you haven't committed adultery. You can bounce your eyes, like realize what you're doing. It's natural to be attracted to people, but if we want to thrive and live our best life, if we want to honor God, then we need to bounce our eyes and not long and intentionally lust after someone else. And then we need to tell ourselves the truth, right? That's not for me. That won't actually fulfill me. That can't give me anything that my partner or my God can give me. And in the end, that's actually going to lead to shame and regret, right? And then the last thing we can do after we've bounced our eyes, after we've told ourselves the truth, is that we can forgive. We can forgive one another when we look for fulfillment outside the bounds of covenant relationship. We can forgive ourselves because you know what? God already forgives us. When we long or lust after somebody else, when our heart isn't correct, our God's a loving God, and He calls us to love and forgive one another too. So don't look for fulfillment outside of the relationships that God has already given you and intended to bring you fulfillment. My name is Pastor Aaron, and that's your Fearless Word of the Day.